The InSight lander, which landed on Mars just recently, got this beautiful image of sunrise and also sunset, which was very pretty. Saw some clouds blowing overhead. Now, this is not what it was sent to Mars to do, of course. It was sent to measure Marsquakes. And we have an instrument to measure earthquakes here at the Griffith Observatory. You can go watch that happen. But what's happening is the plates are moving on the Earth, a little something like this, which is interesting.
Also not to scale.
Not to scale. You can see the instrument being deployed here, and then they put a cover on it to make sure that wind wouldn't cause any shaking of it. They want to keep the wind from blowing it around. Inside it is a complicated seismograph to measure the Marsquakes. And if you listen, hear a little bit of Mars wind, and this is sped up 60 times. So you could hear that there. Now we're just
all the Martians were like, ah!
But that was about 10 minutes of shaking. Now, it wasn't very big shaking. And that was them moving the robot arm, which was kind of fun. Now, it might have been caused by surface cracking, caused by Mars cooling, perhaps magma moving down underneath Mars. Mars has had volcanic eruptions. Or an impact, although the impact theory probably doesn't work for this quake. That quake seems to have lasted a long time. I don't think an impact would last that long. In other news about it, it has a little mole that's pounding down into the Earth to measure the temperature flow, and it got stuck. And we think it might have gotten stuck because it went in on an angle like that, and it's stuck in the actual device. So the arm is going to go down there and grab it. It has a claw, and they're going to lift that off and free it up a little bit, and maybe even place it next to it and let it hammer down in and hold the dirt in place, because maybe the dirt isn't holding it well enough. So if you've heard about the mole having problems, they have some plans.
I thought they couldn't pull it out.
Well, they can't pull the mole itself out, but they can remove the housing, the cover. And the mole will still be stuck there, and then they plan on setting the claw, or the shovel actually, kind of next to it to hold the dirt in place. Because the problem might be the low Martian gravity and the powdery dirt isn't grabbing onto the mole enough, so it's just basically bouncing in and out of the dirt as it tries to hammer in. It's not going in and holding. So they have some plans, and we'll tell you more about it when we hear.
So they don't think they hit a rock?
They might have hit a rock, and maybe that was that first picture where it went on an angle and it got jammed before it left the housing. So if there was a rock right under the surface, that might have been a problem. But if you move that housing out of the way, maybe it can go around the rock. So they have some ideas about what might be happening. Another rover we're sending to Mars in 2020 it's cool. You can put your name on it. So you can send your name to Mars, Google that. You can add your name just like Bill Grunberg here did, which is awesome. But in other news, that rover is going to be looking for signs of life, looking for samples it can cache or store for a later mission to go recover and take back to Earth. Now, what might it want to look for? Well, it won't see hot springs like this, but we think Mars, we see signs that it did have ancient hot springs, and we know that life might have formed first around a location like this. You've got a lot of elements in action, you've got a lot of energy, and life likes all those things. So a couple of studies came into play. The first one in Yellowstone looked at these sort of structures, these long filamentary looking things, and it turns out they're caused by bacteria that cling to each other in the strong flows. As the water flows and it's very hot, they cling to each other and get woven around and make these sort of long strands, a little bit like fettuccine, which is a little strange. So you can see the fettuccine there on Mars.
And the Martian chicken.
In the Martian chicken, exactly. Now, in other news, it's delicious, made from potato. Anyway, in other news, they also saw something that looked a little like chili cheese fries. So we'll look here. And this is from a hot spring in Africa. Again, conditions similar to what maybe Mars had. This is highly acidic, highly sulfurous, and they're the chili cheese fries, if anybody's asking. This is a real picture of Earth, though. But there are bacteria there. They're very small. They have these strange little spiny structures around them that maybe protect them from the highly acidic and extreme temperatures. But they're able to live there. And this made us think, well, there was a sample that fell to Earth from Mars, a meteoritic sample, a big impact, blew a chunk of Mars off. It came here later, landed up in the frozen, what it was in Antarctica at Allen Hills. So not a lot goes on there. There's not a lot of contaminants, not a lot of ways to do it. And there were these little, essentially fossils that looked a little bit like bacteria. Some folks didn't believe it, others did. I think it's somewhat compelling evidence, but they were very, very, very small. Well, these new bacteria they're seeing in these hot springs are also small. They're still about 10 times bigger than the ones in the Martian sample, but we're starting to get down close to that size, so it's not so unreasonable to have even smaller bacteria that could have been on Mars. So biologists here on Earth are looking at environments that might have been similar to Mars to inform the JPL and the astronomers and scientists where to go looking on Mars. So this is how science works. Information comes from all different directions, and we use that to increase our chances. So we hope when it goes there, it finds something cool.